Somehow it is the halfway point of the year. And with that halfway mark is the end of my second 12-week year of 2025 and my third since I started using the 12-week year system to track my goals. And I know I haven't been doing my check ins. You can see on the screen that I haven't even done a text check in 4 weeks since I started doing this. But if you've been following along on this journey, I started a new day job that has been full time for the last 6 weeks. And I learned very quickly that of doing my day job well and getting acclimated, working on my 12-week year goals, and recording YouTube videos about them, I got to pick two. And I picked the day job and working toward my goals, which means I haven't really been showing you my progress. However, if you look at my last video, which I will go ahead and link here, I did do some vlogging. I just didn't edit it until this weekend about what it's been like to notate songs for my musical. So for today's video, I do want to go and look at how my tactics went, how they looked over time, and then go back to this 12-week year journal that I did to start with and see what kind of progress that I've made toward my goals. So let's go ahead and do a new weekly check-in for week 12. I am going to, I think, totally remove this filter. Let's just look at everything. Now, but I do want to switch. Right now, the default group is you know what? Let's keep it for now. Let's make this full. So when we're looking at this, here's everything from the artist's way, and I averaged 64.87% over all of these. For Google Photos, I averaged 90.5%, and for my musical, I averaged 65.28%. This is really interesting for me because what it tells me is that I chose the wrong goals or I wasn't tracking the right things to get things done. This goal I met about halfway in. It's why I stopped tracking after that, and I did hit over 85%, which is what they say you need to be completing things. This, I was way down at 65%, but that doesn't feel quite accurate. And this was even lower. And although I don't think all of this is accurate, there were not 1, 2, 3. Were there? No, there might have been 3 weeks I missed reading. Rochelle, you have review questions. Let's use them. So I think what went well is that for how I had to pivot exactly halfway through this, with 6 weeks before I started full-time work and 6 weeks after I started full-time work, I do think I did a really good job with staying on track with what I wanted to do and what I needed. My average completion weight we just talked about. We'll look at the notable leg measures in a minute when we go into individual goals. What's not going as well is these percentages, but as we'll see, I don't think that I was then tracking the right things because I made better progress on my goals than these percentages tell me I did. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I am creating my next 12-week year. But for this one, let's go ahead and start with going into the goal I finished early. My Google storage was at a rather embarrassing 85.1% full. I did not like that. I wanted to get it below 70%, but I did that fairly quickly and ended up hitting 63%. Yeah, I'm at 65.6%, even with new things that I've recorded since then, and I'm pretty happy with that. So this was a really easy, this was the kind of goal that didn't require a lot of effort or focused thinking. It just needed permission. I don't know if you have any goals like that where they seem kind of silly and like a waste of time and you need permission to do them. Going through my overloaded photos was something that I needed permission to do. And once I had permission to do it, I did it well. And I let that be a lesson to you if you need it, that if you need permission to do something, this is me giving it to you. I want to look at this one next because I actually didn't quite complete it despite having a 2-week start, but I didn't complete it because there were times when I felt like I needed to stay in the content a little bit longer. Now, this last week, I actually feel like I could have combined weeks 11 and 12 and gotten it through, but I had a really major work deadline to deal with. And I did stop making my review videos. That is a huge reason why the tactic percent is so low, because I was doing my homework regularly, and these morning pages were really important to me. I've done such amazing work with this, and I feel like it's made a big difference in my art. I feel like in a lot of ways, I gave myself permission to get a day job because of the work in the artist's way, which is odd to think about. I'm probably going to do a wrap up video for the Artist Way as well when I finish it at the end of this week. If you are looking forward to that, make sure to let me know in the comments so that I prioritize making that video, because clearly making videos has not been a big of priority for me right now as I would like it to be. So I am half a week away from completing this, I would say, maybe a little bit more, depending on how much I'd want to do the reflection and the end of that. But my morning pages are not going anywhere. I ironically didn't do them today, but in general, they've been giving me such good information, especially for this school, which again, technically I did not finish, but I had the goal of notating 8 songs, specifically these 8 songs, and this is the only one I haven't gotten to yet. I did manage 7 others, and what makes me the most happy about this, and look, this week I did 91%. Hooray me. Um, is that if we look at this, I started this 12-week year on, let's see, April 6th. I finished my first song on April 10th, my second on April 11th, and then I didn't do another one until June. I had 6 weeks of this 12-week year where I didn't finish any of my notations. But then in the last 3.5 weeks, I've managed another nearly 4 weeks. I've managed 5 more. I feel like something really clicked, and that the artist way had a lot to do with it. Working through my morning pages had a lot to do with it, because I would sit down and complain about things and realize what was wrong. I rewrote this song so many times, like even the lyrics you can come and see. Like that was one of the first songs I ever wrote, but I last updated the lyrics a month ago, and I had updated the chords a couple of weeks before that because it just wasn't working. And I held myself to high enough standards to know that I wanted it to work. I got a couple new lead sheets done. Really, I think that was one of the tactics that was the wrong one for me to track. So now I did want to go back into this, and let's just take a look at where I hoped to be in 12 weeks. So I knew that I was in the middle of an interviewing process and that I'd been in talks for a job. So I wanted to talk about working 9 to 11. And I've actually done a lot of that with my notating. I've done honestly more like 10 to midnight, but that's fine. I knew that I needed that time and that I will do my best work in the evening in terms of musicals, and that has worked. And I started getting up at 6:20 for the Artist's Way instead of 6:40, but I ended up using that time to focus on a little bit more movement rather than on more Artist's Way stuff. Mostly on pace. I was pretty happy about that. I feel like I've been doing this like plateau, and then kind of an explosion of creativity. And so now that I've reached an explosion, I think that I'm going to hit a plateau soon, but I'm going to take this week to do a reset week, week 13, if you will, and hopefully that will make a difference in helping me avoid that plateau as I get into new songs. I was playing piano actually for like 45 minutes tonight and getting really excited about the ones that I have left. So that is nice. I'm down to 3 songs in the first act, but 2 that I'll start with. I'm going to save the first song for last because that's usually a good idea in writing a musical, so you can incorporate all the motifs to it. So yeah, I'm getting progress. I've been doing these things. I did not do this. I did do this. I did this. Artist dates are complicated because I feel like I was already doing them, so it's been really hard to decide what is and isn't an artist state for me. But yeah, the thing for this was that I ended up taking 2 weeks to do week 5 because I was gone and I wanted to really dive deeper. And then Again, I don't remember why. Something about this work twice now. I've just kind of lost the rhythm of the weekly readings and I fell off track and wanted a little bit more time with the material. It wasn't so much that I wasn't doing it, but that I was doing it slower. And I would rather finish it in 14 weeks than rush through it because that's not the point. So that was really what happened with that. And then the pictures I obviously finished really quickly. And I was right that I would finish it very quickly. So yeah, I think I'm going to go journal about what I want my next 12-week year to look like on paper because I tend to prefer thinking through these on paper to begin with, but I do think that notating more songs will be on my list. I want to get back to novel writing. I want to get better at gymnastics. I've been recovering my strength. It's part of, if we look at my 3 year goals, I wanted to get through my wrist injuries and actively train again and have new skills. When I wrote this, I was literally in a splint, so I've made a ton of progress since then, but I want to keep going on that. And I should be able to make a lot of progress on my financial goals in the next 12 weeks, but I don't want to track them because it seems a little bit less necessary. But yeah, it is time to go work on that. I am really excited with how this went. I think that I managed to get a lot more done than I would have if I hadn't been in the middle of a 12-week year when I started this new job. And I'm really pleased that I was able to continue prioritizing, especially my musical. One of the affirmations that I've been working through in the artist's way that has remained relevant to me is that I can earn a steady paycheck and still call myself an artist. I don't have to be a starving artist. I can be an artist who is also a technical editor and who enjoys her day job and then comes home and writes musicals and novels. And that's how a lot of people do it. And just because my income is coming salaried now instead of occasionally when I can convince people to work, which is so much harder freelance, I'm still an artist. And these are still my long term goals, even if I am really, really happy with my new work. And I am really, really happy with my new work. Yeah, that is where I'm at. I hope you all had a wonderful 12-week year, and I will see you in my next video. Hopefully, a artist's way um, deep dive and little dive into the psyche like one does on a Wednesday or whatever.